Hello, my name is Suzanne Brown. Welcome to Gallery Teachers Masterclass. Today I am here to speak to you about the role of teacher confidence in the classroom. So, today, our workshop agenda, we're going to cover quite a few topics. The first one is, what is confidence? Now, that's quite a big question, so we're going to take some time to think about that. The next question is, where does it come from? Now, that might be different for all of us, but there are definitely some shared parts to that. Then, classroom confidence. What does it matter? Does it matter? Well, we're going to be looking at how that does matter. And then we're going to be looking at confidence knocks. After that, confidence boosters. Then we're going to be doing a takeaway task, which is going to be fun for a lot of people. And then after that, we'll be looking at a reflection. So I hope you enjoy our workshop today. So the first question that we have is, what is confidence? Now have a think about that. For everybody, it is a little bit different. So what is confidence? So it could be that you know your stuff. It could be that you feel like you are on time. It could be that you've planned everything correctly. Think about it. What is confidence? What is confidence for you? Well, one definition that we have is talking about self-belief, how confidence is a belief in yourself, knowing that you will be able to manage whatever it is, whatever task that you have that is given to you. And that comes from Psychology Today. And wrapped up in that is self-belief, so belief that you have in yourself, self-esteem, how you feel about yourself, perhaps even on that day, and also self-trust, again, believing that you know that you'll be able to deal with whatever is given to you. So where does confidence come from? Well, confidence comes from lots of different places. The first one is your surroundings. How comfortable are you in your surroundings? In your own classroom, for example, in your own school, in your own environment, in your own home. How confident are you? And how much confidence does the familiarity of what is around you, how much confidence does that give you? So thinking about, for example, in your school, you know where the photocopier is, you know where the water cooler is, you know what time lunch is, and you know how that works. All of these items together bring confidence. When we are teaching, if we know how the interactive whiteboard works, for example, we know where the pens and papers are, we know what page we're on in the book, the course book that we happen to be using, this all brings confidence to a teacher. The next thing we have to look at is personal beliefs. What do you believe that you're good at doing? I think all of us as teachers, we all have a personal favourite thing to teach. One of my favourite things is teaching present perfect, because when I was a trainee teacher, I studied and studied and studied, and I enjoyed giving that lesson to students because I felt as if that even if a curveball came, I could maybe probably answer it. That's a personal belief that I have. Another one is experience. So I've delivered that lesson many times, the present perfect, for example, and I find that it does go down well. So my confidence comes from my surroundings, my personal belief, and my experience in that case. Also, my attitude. I feel like I can go in there and I can answer questions about the present perfect. And I know that I'm not going to have to look around to find that information. It's going to come from more or less come off the top of my head. The last part of where confidence comes from is our reflection, thinking back. Did that go well? Was that good? How do you feel after? Do you feel like your class went well? Or do you feel like there's things that you could have done to change things or make it better? Did your students understand what the message was, what the grammar point or whatever it is that you're teaching? Did your students understand that? Did they take away what you intended them to take away from the lesson? And also praise. Now, this can come in many forms. It can come perhaps from your students walking out with a smile on their face, with your students saying, I understood that. That was very interesting. Thank you very much. But praise also comes from perhaps feedback from your peers or from the school that you work with. These are all confidence boosters. Okay. So let's take a moment. Just take a moment to reflect. Add it to the chat if you can. What are you good at? Just going to give you a little bit of time to think about that and then to add it to the chat. So thank you for that. How do you know you're good at it? Does that information come from your surroundings, your personal beliefs, your experience, your attitude, or reflection and praise? Think about it. Now, outside the classroom, for example, I can tell you that I think I am a confident driver, for example. That's my personal belief. It also comes from my attitude that I feel like drive through I can drive in any situation. I feel like other people have told me, this is some reflection, some praise, other people have told me that I'm a confident driver. So have a think about that. Think about where your confidence comes from. Now, confidence is not something that people are inherently born with. Now, some people perhaps are more likely to feel confident than others. But we can see here, I'm not going to go through all of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but we can see here that confidence is built upon other things. So we have our physiological needs, which is breathing and shelter and being able to we know that we will be able to have something to eat. And then we go through safety and we go through security and we have family and health and employment. And then we have love and we have friendship and we have our family. And then on top of that comes our confidence. So we can't, we don't, we aren't just born with it. We work towards it. We work towards confidence. So confidence in the classroom, what does it matter? Does it matter at all? Does it matter if you're a confident teacher and you're going in there and you're teaching a lesson and you feel confident? Or does it matter that you're shaking in your boots and you think you don't feel confident, you don't think that you should be here teaching this? Well, let's have a look. What is a lack of confidence in a teacher? What does that lead to? Well, it leads to many things. The first thing is, do your students believe in you? Do your students believe that you have got the knowledge to impart to them? Now, if they don't believe that, if they don't believe that you have that that knowledge that you're going to give to them, then they might start to become disruptive. They might start to question. They might start to lose focus, lose motivation. That might lead to a lack of credibility. Classroom management issues go into things like, as I said, behaviour, to perhaps people being distracted, playing on their mobile phones, people not being involved, not being engaged the way that you would want them to be in the classroom. It also means that you don't seek out new challenges. You look at the same old methods and you just continue to repeat the same way of delivery. You look at the same textbooks, you look at the same worksheets, perhaps that you've been using for many years, and you don't stay on top of new technology because you can't do it and you don't feel that you can do it. You don't feel that you are tech savvy. So you use the same old methods and you find eventually that your students are overtaking you, that you are delivering knowledge to them, but in a way that to them is out of date. to your students is perhaps old-fashioned. And that then leads to a lack of personal learning. As a teacher, it's important to stay on top. It's important to stay in a position where you are always learning, because every day is a school day. A non-confident teacher is going to be in a position where they feel as if they can't reach out to learn something new because they don't have that confidence within themselves. It also leads to being defeated by a challenge. So the first time, somebody comes and observes your class, maybe you get some constructive feedback that you feel is negative, or maybe you get some feedback that you feel as if isn't fair, or you feel as if could have been phrased differently, because that's also very important. What does that do? Now, a confident teacher would take that and run with it and improve on that because they believe they can. Whereas a non-confident teacher is more likely to feel as if, well, that's just another knock to my confidence. It's just another something else pushing me down, and it's not fair. So what does that lead to if we think about our students? So it leads to lower results for them because they're not trying, they're not involved, they're not engaged the way that another class would be with a confident teacher. They are going through the motions and they are doing what they have to do. Quite often they're doing the bare minimum because they don't feel that enthusiasm from their teacher. So they too are not enthused. So lower results is usually the outcome from that. As far as the teacher's concerned, they go towards feeling as if that they are not progressing. They don't go for opportunities. They don't change school. They don't change methodology. They don't progress themselves. They don't push themselves because they don't believe that they can. And then ultimately that goes to be a lack of goals. And if you don't have goals, if you don't have even goals for the day, then you're very unlikely to progress and to push and to challenge. If you don't have goals for the day and that you wake up and all you're going to do today is sit in your pajamas and drink tea, then if that's what you're going to do, that's probably what you're going to achieve. So we're going to look now at confidence knocks. And the first thing to be very, very sure of, very, very aware of, is that everybody has this. Everybody feels that their confidence has been knocked. Now, sometimes something can happen and it lasts for maybe 5 minutes. It lasts for a couple of days, lasts for a week, it lasts a little bit longer. Now, what's really important to know here is that we all experience this. And if you're a teacher who has 5 weeks experience, or if you're a teacher who has 5 years experience or more on top of that, we all have this. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to look at all of these different thoughts that could knock our confidence as a teacher. And I want to look at them all together because I want to look at them holistically, put them all together. The first thing is what if scenarios. Now, I train a lot of new teachers just starting out, and that's the first thing that pops into their mind. What if scenarios? What if this happens? What if that happens? What if the next thing? And quite often it's things like, what if I lose my lesson plan? What if the internet doesn't work? What if my students don't like me? What if lots of different things? Now, what if scenarios are very, very important. However, they're not guaranteed. They're not going to definitely happen. Okay. So the first thing to do with a what if scenario is be thankful that you have thought it up and be thankful that it's there, because now what you can do is you can have a contingency plan and you can have a plan to move away from that should that what if scenario happen. Now, for example, what if you forget your lesson plan? What if you forget your lesson plan? Well, if you've forgotten the paper copy of it, perhaps you have it on your laptop. If you don't have your laptop, perhaps you can save it onto your phone. You can take photos of it. There's lots of different ways around that. Okay. But what is important here is if you do have a what if scenario, then have a plan, have a backup plan. How are you going to get around your what if scenario? The next one is classroom management and behaviour. Now, classroom management for all teachers can be a daunting task. Okay, how are we going to manage this classroom? How are we going to manage our students? And how are we going to ensure that everybody gets the very best out of this lesson that they possibly can? So, if you are a teacher with lots of experience, you might have tried and tested ways of classroom management and behaviour, and that's great. If you are that same teacher, have you thought about doing something a little bit different? Have you thought about new classroom management techniques? If you're a new teacher, think about how you felt as a student. Okay, think about when you went into what kind of teacher did you react well to or respond best to? Somebody who was firm but fair, somebody who was laid back, somebody. Think about that and think about what suits your personality. All right. The next thing is new learning environments. Now, new learning environments is something that's been put on most of us in the last year and a half. We as teachers have moved from classrooms to online virtual classrooms where we routinely talk about breakout rooms and we talk about you're on mute, and we have all this new vocabulary that a couple of years ago we didn't think about at all. And many of us have found this to be a huge challenge. Many of us have thought, I'm not very tech savvy, I'm not good at this. So it's something that we have allowed to knock our confidence. Now, yes, it is daunting. Of course it is. Now, again, whether you are a new teacher or whether you are an experienced teacher, this is something that is completely new for all of us, for most of us. So going out to learn about these new environments, whether it be Zoom or Skype or whatever it might be, learning about these new environments starts with trying it out, starts with clicking that app and giving yourself the benefit of the doubt. I can do this. I am tech savvy. I will get there. The next one is having an unfamiliar subject matter. Now, again, a lot of my new teachers have a sort of confidence shakes over this. What if somebody asks me, what if I'm teaching the first conditional and somebody asks me about the third conditional and I don't know about that? Well, what I say to them is, know your subject for today. And that's what's the most important thing here, because today we are teaching the first conditional. We're not teaching the third conditional, mixed conditionals. We're not teaching the second conditional. We're teaching the first conditional. So even if they do throw you a curveball, know that it's okay to say, we'll come back to that. That's next week, or I don't want to jump the gun. Can we just do this step by step? And that's okay. Also let them know, I will come back to you with that information. I'm not leaving you hanging. I will come back to you with that. But it's not for right now. Okay. So don't feel as if that's something that should shake your confidence, that you're not a walking grammatical encyclopedia. As long as you know what you're teaching today, that's what's important, and that's what should boost your confidence. A lack of preparation is the next one. Now, a lack of preparation can happen for various reasons. If you are asked to take someone's class and it's not your usual class and you don't know where they are in the course book, then this can lead to a lack of preparation. Now, that also can in turn then lead to a confidence knock. However, it's very important to face this for what it is. That's not your fault. You are stepping into someone else's shoes and you are trying to you're trying to give a full and important lesson to the students. It's very much worthwhile saying, I will do this if I feel I can do this. Okay, so that's one type of lack of preparation. The other type of lack of preparation is when you haven't prepared for your class. Now, that is something that you very much can deal with. And I think that any teacher, certainly I know I have, I've walked into a class and I've thought I've been prepared, but haven't been as prepared as I thought I was. I've never done that a second time. Okay. So lack of preparation is, and yes, it knocks your confidence, but it is a moment for learning and it is a moment for, I will not be caught short a second time. Okay. So the unknown is a little bit of a big issue. The unknown could be anything. It goes back to your what if scenarios as well. Is, you know, where does your imagination take you to the things that could go wrong? I worked for 10 years in Naples in Italy, and one of my confidence knocks every now and again was if I felt something that I thought perhaps was Vesuvius or was an earthquake, or because that's a completely different type of zone than I came from here in Scotland. Personal issues is another thing that could knock your confidence. And again, this is because teachers are people. Now, it depends what makes you feel confident. So for me, and as silly as this might sound, it's perfume. Perfume makes me feel confident. So today I am doing an online masterclass with you with gallery teachers, and I'm wearing perfume. Now you don't know that, but I know that. Okay, so for me, perfume is something that's very important. Personal issues, though, can go across many different sectors. It could be something to do with family. It could be something to do with your job or your friends or anything along those lines. What's really important there is, if possible, to compartmentalize that and leave that outside the classroom if you can. Now, moving on to the other side, we have being undermined. If you've ever been undermined in the classroom, you'll know that that is a feeling that it was pretty bad for a teacher. Um, if you've ever had it, you know also that it's something that you can change. I have been in a position where people have tried to undermine me through a lesson, and that's for me, I let them express themselves, and then I go back to my point of what I was talking about, and then hopefully through discussion and through clarity in that discussion, I can show my students that perhaps they've got the wrong end of the stick. Rejection is another confidence knock that can come. Now, if you've ever applied for a job, or if you've ever sang at a karaoke or anything along those lines, and people have said, no, no, thank you, thanks, but no thanks, that's something that can knock your confidence. For me, rejection, now that I've got to the grand old age of whatever age I am, um, for me, rejection is something that I think to myself, okay, well, honestly, I am better off doing what I'm doing now and looking for my next new opportunity. Rejection is something that quite often the people who are rejecting you understand more about what they're looking for than you understand what they're looking for. So rejection is something, it's quite often not about you. Don't worry about rejection. Self-doubt is the next confidence knock that we should talk about. And again, this all wraps up with, it can be wrapping up with personal issues. It can be what if scenarios. It can be the new learning environment as well. Oh, I don't know, I'm not very tech savvy. I don't know anything about the third conditional, so therefore I can't teach the first conditional. That, you know, it doesn't make sense, but it's all these doubts start chipping away at the confidence that you had started building when you start to not believe in yourself. Negative feedback, now that can come from anyone, and you've often got to look at why is that person giving you negative feedback. Now, if somebody said they didn't enjoy your lesson, or if somebody said that it's a lesson they got nothing out of, or you've got to understand why. Why are they saying that? Why is that something that they feel that they want to give to you? Now, is that the majority of the class feels that way? Um, is it all of your lesson observations all go the same way? If so, then perhaps it's time to start thinking, okay, well, how can I improve? How can I change? What can I do? If, on the other hand, it's one or two events that people have sort of given you this feedback, is it you or is it them? It's a question to think about. The next confidence knock is office politics. Now, this might seem a bit strange, but I've worked in so many different environments in my career that quite often I go in and I am full of optimism. I'm full of looking forward to the challenge and full of something different. It's all exciting. And then all of a sudden somebody says, oh, don't do X, Y, and Z because it's the boss doesn't like it, for example. And you think, and all of a sudden your confidence is, you're not as relaxed as you used to be. Think about that. Think about what are office politics. Personally, I leave office politics at the door and leave them there, walk home. Office politics for me is something that should not affect your teaching or your self-belief or your anything along those lines, because quite often it's the politics of other people. Negative beliefs, again, this is something that comes in with what if scenarios, new learning environments, the unfamiliar subject matter is another one. I can't do this. I don't know anything about teaching. I don't know. I don't know anything about teaching the present simple. I don't know how to teach that. I don't know how to explain that. I don't know listen to all of that. I don't know this. I don't know that. I don't know the next thing. When actually you do. And that's one of the things that I say to all of my new teachers. One of the first things I say is you have the biggest tool bag in the world, which is you speak English. And you're here to teach English. You're here to talk about grammar. You're here to talk about vocabulary. You're here to talk about idiomatic phrases, and you speak English. So you shouldn't have any negative beliefs because you know the answer and you're here to be able to share that answer with your students. Time management is another one. This is something that can knock your confidence if you haven't been able to go through every part of your lesson, for example, if you are running on, if you have spoken too much, if you or the opposite, everything's gone a bit too quick and you don't have a backup. Well, that's something that you can help very quickly. You can say, well, I need backup plans. I need backup activities. Is my group, are they mixed level in some way? Do I know that I'm going to have stronger learners that are going to need to have other exercises to back up the lesson? Or do I know I talk too much when I'm presenting the grammar or the vocabulary or whatever it might be? Do I have to reel that in? So that's something, again, shouldn't knock your confidence. It's an opportunity to improve. And then spontaneity. This is something that some people think this is excellent and lots of fun, and other people think that they just can't do it. They have to plan everything. So spontaneity for a teacher, for example, for me, that's fine. I like to think on my feet. I like to go out and try something new. And I try to instill that in my student teachers. Now, some of them say, okay, I'll try. And other ones say, I just can't do that. I need to plan everything. But that's okay. But what we have to know here is that while you plan everything, that's fine. Sometimes spontaneity happens. And if you're naturally good at it, great. If you're not, fine. It's not something that should knock your confidence, because you know what? Either way, you're planned and you're covered. You can do it. Global confidence is something that I would like to talk to you about also. Now, I sort of touched on it. Depending where you are in the world, you will have had an experience probably fairly similar to me here in the UK. We haven't seen our colleagues, we haven't seen our students face to face. We haven't had that opportunity to feel that buzz and that vibe in the classroom. We haven't had that. And this is something that for any teacher, a new teacher, an experienced teacher, this is something that can knock your confidence. People have reopening anxiety. This is something that, people 2 years ago didn't have this thought. But now global confidence has been rocked. And as a result, collectively, we should look at this, and collectively, we should appreciate this. And collectively, we should also work together to see how we can start to rebuild our global confidence. So when we all went into lockdown, depending on where you were at that point, the chances are that one day you were at school, one day you were teaching, one day you had face-to-face contact with your students. You know them, you know who's going to be late, you know who's going to be early, you know the ins and outs and the dynamics of your own classroom. And then the next day you went into lockdown. Then I think that happened to us all. One day everything seemed normal, and the next day we're in lockdown. Now, this was a moment globally where we realised things have to change. And that led us very quickly onto our new learning environments and our new platforms, such as Zoom, such as Skype, and lots of different things like that. Rather than giving handouts, we were sending files and chats, and rather than having a little group task over here and another group task over there, we were opening up breakout rooms and we were assigning students different groups. Now, that is a huge leap from everything is normal and this is what we've been doing to lockdown to moving into these new learning environments and platforms. And that very quickly led us on to changing demands and changing needs. So our students, we all went through that period of everybody showing each other their cat, or this is my dog, or this is my, having a completely different type of feeling in the classroom, because it's not a physical environment now. It's now an environment that is what's online, and the needs and the demands have changed. Out of the classroom, we don't have coffee breaks and we don't have water coolers anymore. And by that, I mean, we don't have time spent with our colleagues the way that we used to. We don't have team meetings in the staff room the way we used to. We don't share a coffee. We don't say, oh, hello, how are you? Just as we're passing in the corridor. We don't have that interaction that we used to have. So all of a sudden we start feeling as if we're a little bit alone. And am I the only person here that is talking to my screen? I don't see anybody else. I don't see what's happening around me. I don't have that human interaction that I've been used to for the last, well, for me, 20 odd years that I've been teaching in schools. From that come friendships. Your friends are super important to you, not only as a teacher, but as a person. And when you have teacher friends, you can share information, you can share knowledge, you can share experiences, you can share lots of different things. And all of a sudden that's reduced to a couple of WhatsApps and maybe a weekly meeting. Everybody's on, I don't know, Zoom or Teams or something like that. So friendships start to change also. Social life. Global confidence has been rocked by the fact that our social life has been diminished. And that's right across the board. All of us are in that situation. When was the last time that you had a teacher's night out? Now, for me, when I was teaching in the school, that would be maybe once every 2 to 3 months, something like that. There would be a night out, there'd be maybe a quiz, or there'd be something like that. And that went straight to zero. Now, after that, of course, there's the hugging. Sometimes you need a hug. Sometimes your confidence just grows because somebody saw your classroom or somebody saw one of your students coming out. And as you can see from the picture that we have here, somebody gave somebody a high five, whatever it might be. Hugging is physical contact, and having that from your colleagues is something that is super important. And also from your students, if you feel comfortable high-fiving them, then it's a great thing to do. So confidence globally as well as personally has taken a bit of a wobble in recent years. So now we're going to look at some strategies to boost confidence. And this is what's really important for us as teachers, but also as people. We have all taken a bit of a confidence wobble in recent years. So this is what we're going to do. Now, some of this we've already touched on, so I can go through a lot of it quite quickly, but be prepared, know your stuff for today. So if you are teaching the first conditional, that's ideal. You don't need to know the zero, the third, the second, not important. Know what you need to know for today. And know your environment, know how the interactive whiteboard works, know what time your class starts, know what time your class finishes, and prepare yourself to be as confident as you possibly can be in the classroom. Practice in the mirror. Know what you look like. It might seem a bit silly, but it's very important to be able to talk, to project, and to feel comfortable doing that. So get yourself a mirror, have a chat with yourself, and have a bit of a giggle if you have to. But get over that, and then you will know what you look like. So there are no surprises. You know what you look like to your class. Then stand up straight. Have you ever seen a confident teacher like that? No. Everybody who you see on TV, in magazines, whatever it might be, who is confident is standing up straight. Okay, so physically be as straight up and down as you can be. Know your boundaries. So again, that's going back to your first, second, third zero conditionals. If today is only the first, just say no. We'll come back to that. We'll come back to it another day. We'll come back to it next week, whenever it might be. Set the ground rules. If you are teaching for 1 hour, for example, let the students know that they will have some time to interact with each other. They will have some time to ask questions, but that doesn't happen all the way through, for example. Make sure you have the boundaries set with the ground rules. You know, they know what to expect and you know what to expect. Be comfortable in yourself. This goes back to me talking about perfume. Be comfortable in yourself. Be comfortable in your clothes. Be comfortable with what you look like. Whatever it is that makes you feel comfortable, make sure that you prepare for that. Now, projecting is very important. If you have a teacher who you can't hear, it's not very good. As a teacher, to project is important so that people can buy into what you're saying and they can hear what you're saying. They don't have to try and guess what you're saying. The next point to boost confidence is to take up space, okay? So have your mouse here and have your notebook here and have your microphone here, whatever it might be, but don't be limited. Take up as much space. Keep focused is the next one, okay? For confidence, talk about what it is you're here to talk about. That will boost your confidence. Your stance and your dance. Now, your stance is going back to standing up straight, sitting up straight in this case, whatever it might be. And your dance is how you move. Okay, so your stance and your dance are very, very important. So if you use your hands a lot, then that's fine. That's great. But incorporate that into what you're saying. Don't try and stop it. And don't try and do something that is not natural to you. Make sure your stance and your dance are underlining who you are as well as who you are as a teacher. Being non-verbally aware. Do you make faces when you talk? I do. And it's about being aware of that. Okay, that boosts your confidence because then nobody can tell you you're doing that and you didn't know it. You already know. And the last thing is to believe in yourself. Okay, self-belief here is fundamental. You're going into a classroom environment, whether that is virtual or whether that is physical, and you've got to believe that you are the teacher and that you can give this lesson effectively. Positive self-talk is one of the most important parts of this. The first thing is kindness. Being kind is key. If you think about how you talk to yourself, would you talk to your friends that way? And if you did, how long would you keep those friends? Stop it. Be kind to yourself. If you're a teacher with lots of experience, or if you're a teacher just starting out, be kind to yourself. Positive self-talk. You can do this. Okay? Believe in yourself. So here's a task. It's going to be a 24-hour kindness zone. For the next 24 hours, what I would like you to do is to be kind to everyone you see, everyone you interact with. Say something nice. That's a nice apple. Would you like my apple? And that includes yourself. Be kind to yourself, okay? It's very, very important to be a confident teacher, to get the very best you can out of your classroom environment or your virtual classroom. Get the very best out of your lesson. Be kind to yourself first, and then be kind to others. So the reflection after our Gallery Teachers Masterclass: if you believe you can or you can't, you're probably right. Think about that. So I would like to point you in the direction of the Gallery Teachers Workshops Continuous Professional Development Library, which is online. And there's so much information there for teachers who are new, for teachers who have lots of experience. So go ahead there, get involved, click, download, have a look at all the different links. There's so much for you to learn about and to read about, and lots of new ideas for lots of different teachers. Confidence affects behaviour in many different ways. As a teacher, if I feel confident, I will go into the classroom and I will know when I'm starting, what I'm starting with, and what I want to achieve. I will have goals, I will have aims, and I'll have outcomes. I will work towards them, and I will be able to present the very best that I can to my students to ensure that they are able to achieve those aims and outcomes as we have set out. Well, confidence affects learning in lots of different ways. Let's start by looking at it from your student's point of view. If you've got a teacher who perhaps doesn't project, who mumbles or whispers or speaks very quietly about the subject matter, this is not something that your students are going to buy into. This is something that's not going to engage them, and it's not going to motivate them. So what happens when your students aren't engaged or they aren't motivated? They start to become disruptive, and they start to fidget, and they start perhaps to play with their mobile phone, and they're looking out the window and they're wondering what time lunch is, and they start to think about different things. So if you as a teacher, if you're confident, you will get the best learning from your students by going in, by projecting, by being sure of what you're talking about, and being 100% on the ball.